So, which player on the Spurs roster could be on the Spurs bubble?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen every single day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. iTunes, Spotify, Ken's 5 Plus app, and YouTube. So many other platforms. Just pick one. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. You just got to go to FanDuel.com to get started. What are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at the Spurs roster and who could be on the bubble. Which player likely, has got to prove something heading into training camp, preseason, start of the regular season. We're going to pick a couple players and then get into your comments. Locked On Spurs fans, you guys are leaving a bunch of comments this offseason. Hey, the good news is it's winding down already. So, yeah, just a few more weeks and it'll be media day, training camp, preseason, fun times ahead. But we got to get through these next few weeks. We'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. So who is joining me today? It's been a while since we had him on. Where is he? There he is. James Pledger.
What's happening, Jeff?
Nothing much, buddy. How you been, man?
Oh, been good. Just getting into the busy part of the year. We got baseball playoffs. Football has begun in both college, NFL, and high school. And, of course, NBA is right around the corner with training camp and stuff. So,
well, a little birdie tells me that San Antonio Sports Star has everybody covered, right, when it comes to everything and more.
Oh, for sure. You know that. We got you all set up when it comes to literally all the sports.
Exactly. He is with San Antonio Sports Star, and follow him on X at I Am Pledger, host of Extra Innings with Pledger. And I want him to brag all about that to close out the show because you got to tune in. It's a great show, fun show. He wraps up the day in sports and so much more. But we'll give him his time to shine in just a few minutes. So why is Pledger here? We're going to be looking at the Spurs roster and who could be on the bubble. Now, there are certain players that will likely be on that opening night roster, and there might be some that are probably going to be in Austin. Then there's some that could be out of Spurs uniform as the season goes on. We're going to be discussing that and more. So, James, you are the guest, and it's been a while since you've been here, buddy, so I'll let you go first here. When you look at the Spurs roster, are there some players you're looking at saying, you know what? Yeah, this player could be on the bubble and either stay in San Antonio, out of San Antonio, or maybe in Austin.
I mean, this year feels rather easy in terms of kind of depicting what the roster will look like to me.
Sure.
Riley Minix is an easy, he's a bubble guy who was, a flash during the summer league. Then they're taking a chance on and could end up in the G League. I think Harrison Ingram ends up in the G League. If we're being honest, he's going to be groomed. I don't think he's going to immediately be on the Spurs active 15. Other than that, you look at maybe potentially like a Boyega or a Boston, like those guys I consider bubble guys for making the team. I think Sissoko's on this year. I think he's a part of the 15.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Sissoko. I know you and I, before we hit record, we were talking about who do we got on our roster as far as who's on the bubble. But I'll get into kind of a light hot take one in a bit. But I'm glad you brought up Sissoko because I think he's on the bubble as well. But not – I think the bubble wall is probably like 10 inches thick, though. Like it'll take
he's up and down all year.
Yeah, exactly. I with him, he has to show out. Going into the second year, he got hit with that injury. He spoke over the offseason that it really impacted him mentally, that he just couldn't shake it. He wanted to play out there. He just couldn't get out there because of I think it was a knee injury, I think it was. But in Austin, he looks like his head is above the rest. San Antonio, he really hasn't got that much burn. I think he only had less than 10 games in the San Antonio uniform. So
yeah, end of the year stuff.
Yeah. It's safe to say he's on the bubble as far as let me rephrase that. Do you think he has to prove himself to get out of the bubble or be considered a bubble player down the road?
Yeah. I mean, there's guys on the roster that he would have to jump in order to make it. I don't think it's as simple as anything else. I was kind of bummed over the weekend hearing the news about Koloko. The Spurs had interest and he ended up signing with the Lakers. Like that bummed me out because that could have brought a 7-footer that brings some depth to your front court that I think the Spurs can really use. And so missing out on him, I thought really sucked. But as far as Sissoko, yeah, I could see him on the bubble in terms of just needing to prove it to be able to jump somebody that's already getting some burn, whether that's Malachi Flynn, who they brought in free agency, whether that's Blake Wesley or Malachi Branham. Like, he's going to have to take some minutes from somebody. So he's obviously going to have to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have high hopes on Sissoko. He's an athletic freak. He got slimmer, so he's not as jacked as he was. He's just chiseled now.
Yeah.
Again with him, and like you pretty much copy paste this for almost all players on the roster right now. He just needs to work on that shot, man. He just needs to work on that shot.
Tale as old as time in the NBA, right?
Exactly. But it's just that entire Spurs roster. Go up and down the line, and you're like, yeah, he can work on his shot. Yeah, he needs shot. Trey Jones, yep. Sohan, yep. Sissoko, yep. So that's just the way it is with the Spurs right now. But as far as who I think could be on the bubble, man, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I say Blake Wesley, not because he doesn't have enough to make it on the roster. It just
that feels hot.
It just,
like if we're dealing with temperatures, that feels pretty warm.
That's a San Antonio evening. How's that? A San Antonio evening temperature.
That's I mean, that's basically a heat advisory in San Antonio. Like, yeah, it's hot. We know. Like, well, you're not warning us of anything we don't already know here. It's hot.
But I not to trash him or bash him for what he can. It's just
here comes incoming trash and bash.
He's just behind so many guys that are ahead of him. He ain't gonna get more minutes than CP3. He's not gonna get more minutes than Trey Jones. I don't think he's gonna get more minutes than Steph Castle, unless Steph Castle wets the bed to start this season. He's in a precarious spot because there's guys ahead of him that could take almost all his minutes. And that could equal either send him to Austin or package him in a deal if the Spurs make a trade down the road.
Is he available to be sent to Austin with as long as he's been on the roster now? Like, are there rules against rules. An accrued time that you've spent on an NBA roster and being able to be sent back down to the G League?
Well, even if he's allowed to or not allowed to, let's just say he's not allowed to. He's going to be buried on the bench. And I can see him, kind of being there like on the bubble, like, well, if we're going to make a roster move, well, there's this guy. In my opinion, James, he's going to really have to show out in training camp and in preseason because he's scrapping for minutes now. I mean,
isn't that where he always shows out, though? Isn't that kind of the knock on Wesley is he looks good until he gets into a game?
Well, he's only knows one speed. That's
what I'm saying. Like, he looks good in a controlled setting like that, but he loses control when you get into a game setting.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up about the rules. According to the NBA, NBA teams can assign players with 3 years of service or less to the G League and unlimited amount of times during the season. So he's heading to year 3, so they can still technically assign him to Austin. So I'm not going to be surprised if he's spending the bulk of his season in Austin. What about you?
I would be shocked if Blake Wesley's in Austin.
Okay.
And just the Spurs feel like a do right by you organization. Mm-hmm. And as a guy who's not spent a lot of time in Austin over the last couple of years, sending him there this year would feel icky,
But he's got to get PT, man. And as of now, he's scrapping for minutes, man. Yeah, but first, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. Why? Because it's America's #1 sports book Well, we all have a little bit of something different today, and I think you're going to like it. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get themselves a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. You heard that right. That is a great deal. You better jump on that right now. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you better watch every single regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. You just need a Google account, current form of payment. You can cancel at any time. It gets even better, right? Get that deal done right now. And if that's not enough, be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all of Sunday 9:15 pregame moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Thursday, September 12th. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. You want to go to FanDuel.com right now. Go to FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook.
The Jedi uses the Force. To subscribe to Locked On Spurs, pass on what you have learned.
Unless it's this thing where maybe I can see this scenario where the Spurs low manage CP3 maybe.
He's definitely going to be low managed.
Yeah, so there's going to be some freed up minutes there. And the other thing why I kind of debate whether if he's going to even leap or contend with Castle is Castle's the better defender than Wesley. And that's where Pop's going to love Castle, and he's going to throw him the minutes to go out there.
Well, the thing is with Castle is he can get minutes at a couple of positions because he can play the two. Like he's not pigeonholed into being the one, right? Like Wesley is. So he's versatile enough, can defend enough positions to, and I think we saw that a little bit kind of in the summer league, and I think we'll see it more as the season goes on, is that Stefan Castle will play a multitude of positions throughout the year. I think he will play some point. I think he will be asked to play some two. That's going to be kind of his thing, is where is he needed? When is the defense needed? Where is it needed? And that's kind of where you'll see him this year.
Yeah, Castle's defense is really going to, again, give him a leg up on Wesley. I don't see Steph Castle leaping over Trey Jones.
Gives him a leg up too, though.
Yeah. Oh, his size too, his length. I mean, it's just everything. So that's why I got Wesley on my short list of who's on the bubble as far as sticking on the roster long term, getting assigned to Austin, is because again the depth. Remember last year, James, we were crying about the Spurs don't have any point guard depth. There's no point guard depth. Well, they got plenty now, tons of it now. So
and they only had one. Well, two, I guess.
Yeah, two. You mentioned Ingram earlier as far as the guy that's probably on your bubble.
He's going to go up and down.
He's up and down, right?
Yeah.
The thing with Ingram though is I like the kid, man. I mean,
I love him.
Yeah, he's dirty work, hustle, smart, high IQ. I'm not going to be surprised if maybe the Spurs throw him some minutes because I think he's going to shine. I got him as the guy to watch in training camp and in preseason. I really think he has close to an NBA body already. Again, his body IQ is high. I think he's going to try to.
Well, he's 30. He should.
Well, here's the thing too. He's what again?
He's 30. He should have an NBA body.
Oh, yeah. He's
30, been in college for like 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how many red shirts did he get? Right?
Exactly. It's like Frank Harris.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the thing, though. I can see him pushing this Popovich and the coaching staff to really rethink, like, are we going to stash him in Austin or just keep bringing him back and forth and then eventually give him that permanent spot in San Antonio?
The thing with Harrison Ingram to me is, like I said, the missing out on Koloko the other day. The Spurs don't have a ton of depth in their front court, so I could see where he could earn some minutes quickly on this roster, just because the amount of depth behind, whether it's Wemby or Collins, then you're talking about guys like Sohan and Ingram at like 4. There's just not a lot there.
Yeah.
And so that could be a pathway just for him to get minutes early.
Yeah. I guess this is a good thing too, James, is that a lot of the guys that are on the bubble, you can't afford to give up some time either on the bench, learning, or in Austin, because this Spurs team, kind of has some depth, doesn't it?
It's got some depth. The one thing you worry about with this team is depth at areas, right? They've got depth at point guard. We've talked about it. They don't have a lot of veteran depth, though. So if something happens to Chris Paul, all of a sudden, you're forcing Trey Jones into that starter's role again, and the depth behind him is a bunch of young guys or unproven guys like Branham and Wesley and Stefan Castle and guys that, don't have what Chris Paul brings to the table. And the same goes for the front court, man. You've got Wemby, you've got Zach Collins, you've got Sandro Mamushkishvili. After that, when you're talking about bigs like that, you're not talking about Jeremy Sohan or anything. You're talking about legit bigs. There's not a lot of depth back there, which is why the missing out on Koloko to the Lakers of all freaking people really hurts, I think, because there's just not that same amount of depth there. And while there's depth in the backcourt, I don't think the depth is proven depth. So it's very questionable. Like if something happens to a Chris Paul, what happens if something happens to Devin Vassell? I mean, yeah, you can insert Kellin Johnson, but behind him, what do you have? While we talk about, this is a deeper team. This is a deeper team because we're not starting a bunch of G League guys this year like we were a couple of years ago, rookies and G Leaguers and, guys on NBA bubbles when it comes to just veterans. That's not what the makeup of this roster is anymore. So I don't think the cuts are hard. Like, you don't got to rack your brain like, am I going to miss this guy? Am I going to miss that guy? Do I need to cut this guy? Like, it's not hard yet, but it's different. It's going to be more difficult than it's been in the past to kind of figure out who needs to be on this roster, who needs to stay on this roster. The Texans 2-3 years ago, when they first ripped it down like the Spurs did, they started building up, and then, they get CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, and there are more difficult cuts that they made last year, but then they went in free agency, and they went wild. They spent. They brought in players. That made cuts this year a lot more difficult for the Houston Texans in their third, fourth year post, tank than it was initially early on because, keep all the rookies. We need to see what they've got. We need to see if there's anything there. The veterans, we know what the veterans are. But with the Spurs, they're kind of they're a year back of what Houston was last year in terms of the Texans, I think. And, they're better. The roster top to bottom is completely overhauled, and you feel a lot better about it. And you think you can make a run.
Sure.
But I don't think the cuts are going to be agonizing.
Yeah. And the good news, too, is that the Spurs, again, with that depth, I mean, imagine, like, for example, knock on wood, Sohan gets hurt. Oh, no, like City Sissoko's going to get more minutes, or, Harrison Ingram's going to get the call up. So, I mean, this is a good problem for the Spurs to have. They have depth, even in young. I mean, these youth. There's still youth on this squad that didn't get too old. CP3, Barnes. Your elder statesman. As far as season tenured Spurs, it's Kellin Johnson. Kellin Johnson's been on the roster the longest than any Spurs. So that should tell you a lot right there. The Spurs are sitting pretty, but there you have it.
Wait,
James and I. Oh, go ahead.
Kellin Johnson, number 0. Kellin Johnson.
Number 0. That's right. Hey, by the way, imagine
because I was told at a signing event that he wasn't giving up 3.
Well,
I was told from Keldon's mouth.
So what do you happen in that moment, and then when he announced that he's zero? Somebody must have told him, "We heard you say this publicly, Keldon." Guess what?
Well, he's not they aren't the only ones that heard him say it. Everyone heard him say it publicly.
Wasn't it like Academy Sports? They put out the jerseys already of CP3 way too early.
It was either Academy or Dick's or somebody.
Yeah, it was something like Sporting's Good at San Antonio put out stuff. They took them off the shelves in a hurry. But Matt, and then if you go back and look at that video and listen to it, the fan asked him directly to him, "Okay, good, you're staying at 3 because I'm giving you a 3 jersey."
Yeah, this is what I want signed.
Yeah, this is what I want signed. And Kel's like, "No problem, no problem. I got it. I got you. I got no."
Yeah, he's like, I'm not leaving 3. 3 is mine. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
He was very stern about that.
I'm pretty sure CP3 texted him like, "You said what again?"
You think it was CP3 that texted him or Pop?
Yeah, I think it was the powers that be on the staff. But anyway, you think it's Pop?
I thought this whole time he was being traded. Like this whole off season.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how they're opening up 3, which is why they won't like show a mural or a jersey or even the promotional material where the basketball where the number should be. Like they've done a very good job of not showing CP3 in any number. And I was like, well, they're trying to trade Keldon. That's what's happening.
Yeah. And then lo and behold, I'm going to be 0 now, everybody. I'm 0. Well, he is James Pledger. Again, follow him on X at I am Pledger. He is with San Antonio Sports Star, host of Extra Innings. All right, James, I know we got to let you go, but let's go and dive into some Spurs fan comments left on the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. By the way, everybody go subscribe. Thank y'all for making me get over the 5,000 mark already. So clear that. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so what are y'all talking about? Well, here we go. Now, James, I'm pretty sure you saw that fan website that had a ridiculous proposed trade between the Lakers and the Spurs, where the Spurs would receive LeBron James, the 2026 first-round pick, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, while the Spurs give up Sohan and Wemby. Yeah, that was the proposed trade. Okay, so here we go. Needless to say, a lot of Spurs fans are reacting to that at the Locked On Spurs page. First one is
I don't know why people waste their time with something that would never in a million years happen.
You know why? It's the offseason. That's why. It's the offseason, and there's really not much to talk about.
Like, anybody that thinks the Spurs would say yes to something like that, put down the keyboard, walk away, go outside, take a walk. Like, it's nice out.
It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Well, then you pretty much answered the question about that thing already before we even read the comment. So, Evolve Collector 210 says, "Why the blank would we trade Wemby for old blank LeBron? That's a major cap." So Evolve Collector 210, there's your answer right there.
That is cap.
That is very, very cap. But here's another good question from Frank Santini 4990. Thank you for that comment, Frank. And here we go. He says, "I said it once, I'll say it again. Castle has SGA in him, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Do we got to pump the brakes on this? Do we got to tell Frank to pump the brakes? We want to get 3 games in Summer League. It's all we gotten from Castle. But Frank, this Locked On Spurs fan says the ceiling is SGA for Castle. Your thoughts?"
I mean, you got to be careful with stuff like that just because you're comparing them to, an MVP candidate, Yeah, like it's easier with Wemby to kind of make those kind of assertions about his potential and career.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things need to happen, and he needs to develop the same way SGA did. SGA took time to develop. Not everybody reaches their full-on potential. I like the potential of what Castle can be in this league. I'm very, very fond of his upside and what he can be, but he hasn't played a game. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's pump the brakes and let's see where we're at the end of the year. I'm very high on him. He was the prospect in the draft that I liked the most. And so him falling to at 4 in the first place, him and Reed Shepherd were my 2 favorite guys in this draft. Like, just the guys that I thought, yeah, those guys they're gonna be something in the league.
I look at
Now,
Castle
what
and
is something is a different story because,
yeah.
like, when you talk about the NBA and especially drafts where the talent is lower, like this one was, yeah, he's my favorite guy in the draft. But in a low draft, that bar is, you know,
low. Yeah, it's a low bar. Yeah.
So he could be a contributor. He can be an NBA player. Like, I get it. Like, there's a bunch of people that still have super high upside on Devin Vassell, and I get it. I like Devin Vassell too. I kind of think we're getting to where he is as a player, I think. I think he's a 20-point a game guy, right? I think he's a good shooter. I think he's a versatile defender. But, you know, I don't think he's going to be, you know, he'll be one of those fringe all-star type players, probably, in my opinion. A guy that may make one in his career or two and, you know, just kind of bounce up and down between that. Castle's going to have to prove himself in this league. He's going to have to be able to prove himself by shooting. I like his ability to handle the ball. I love his ability to defend, and that's going to keep him in the league. His shot has to come around. He can create. He can do different things, but his shot needs to be proven because it wasn't at UConn. In Summer League, while he hit shots, I still question his stroke. Like, you know, I think they're going to have to rebuild it at some point. And I think they're probably doing that this offseason. But it's something, and we've seen it with other guys. You know, they've built up multiple shooting strokes from the Spurs roster and revamped them and made them better players because of it. But I don't, like, SGA is a wild high, ultra high ceiling. Could he be? Yeah, maybe at his peak if everything in his life goes right. Is it going to be anytime soon? No.
No. And here's the thing too, even his own coach, Dan Hurley at UConn, says that he thinks his projected ceiling is Drew Holiday, which is great.
Dude, love Drew Holiday.
Yeah, it's great. I mean,
we need that guy.
If that's what he turns into, yay, Spurs. Good job drafting him and scouting him since he was a high schooler.
But Drew's also been on a handful of teams.
And I correct me wrong, I think he's been an all-star once.
I think he made one with the Pelicans,
Right. Yeah, he made the all-star. So, yeah, if you're going to get an all-star caliber guard that can defend, score when needed, set you guys up, and has the size of the length.
He's a gold medalist. I know that.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think maybe pump the brakes, Frank Santini, about SGA comparison.
That's ridiculous for any. Like, you know, when you have players coming out this early, especially in down classes, like projecting the utmost highest ceiling for them is insanely difficult because even like the projections or the player comps that you see, like you're looking at guys that are, you know, Austin Reeves, you're looking at middle guys on NBA rosters through a lot of this draft class, like even their you know, pro comps or their comparisons or what they may be at their best. And let's pump the brakes. Like, I love me some Castle. I love Stefan Castle. He's my favorite player in this draft. But that is a big ask of someone who was the fourth pick this year and does need some work.
Yeah, let's wait till about year 4 if he's really going to be on that trajectory or not. He is Mr. James Pleasure with San Antonio Spurs 94.1. So I spoke earlier about extra innings, and I hear from the streets that everybody should be listening to extra innings. Is that correct, James?
Well, I mean, if you're not, then you're just missing out.
No. All right, tell us about extra innings and what's going on at Star.
Well, at the Star, you know, we got you going. We start 6 a.m. every day, get you on your drive to work with AJ Hoffman and Rob Thompson on the morning huddle. Then, of course, Greeny, Jim Rome, and then the Blitz, which I produce from 2 to 6 with Jason and Joe. And, we'll finish it up with me kind of getting the last word on Extra Innings with Pledge from 6 to 7 weekday afternoons. So just kind of a nice little cap on the end of your day.
And that's no cap, right?
That's no cap.
That's no cap at all. By the way, I'm looking forward to now seeing Transformers 1. Have you seen the reviews?
I have not seen the reviews, but I like the idea of the story. The one thing I'm like, it's the Hemsworth voicing Prime.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I think it was Rotten Tomatoes. They have it at 95 or 97%.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love the story. I mean, it's tale as old as time. Dumbledore and friends become enemies. Magneto and Charles Xavier. It is a tale as old as time, and to kind of see the backstory of them being friends before becoming mortal enemies is going to be really cool adaptation to the screen, I think.
Yeah. There was one review I read that said it might challenge Transformers 86 for the best movie, and that Transformers 86 is bars high. I know.
Come on.
There's no way. So James and I will be the final judges on that if it really does.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, we told Frank Santini to pump the brakes. Had some reviewers pump the brakes on that.
Between the SGA talk, the trading for Wemby for LeBron talk, and the Transformers 86 and Transformers 1 being on the same bar,
everybody's bringing it down a bit.
Can things be their own thing? Does everything have to be compared to the greatest thing ever?
Right. Well, that's what we do. We like to compare. So, but I can't look. I'm really looking forward to it. I was kind of turned off by it. I thought it was gonna be kitty and everything, but there was a couple of reviews that said that there's a lot of brutality in it when it gets to the third act. So,
hot take. Riley Minix is gonna take Wemby's job.
And on that note, he's James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on X at I am Pledger. Do that right
now. Cars. I meant parking cars.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he meant. As James, we always appreciate you taking time out. We're going to be bothering you a lot more. The season's around the corner. So
we're here. I can feel it.
Texts. Yeah, you can get those texts from me in the middle of the night like, James, I need you tomorrow. James, I need you tomorrow. It's coming soon. Again, follow him on X at I am Pledger. Make sure you do that right now. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every single day. Free and available wherever we get podcasts. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black. So stay tuned for that. So for James Pledger, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.